Now, the song was written by Annie Smith. Annie Smith was one of the pioneers of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The brother is the one who is most famous in the Adventist circles, Uriah Smith. So for those who don't know, Uriah Smith is one of the pioneers. But like I said, hymn number 5. Now, the Smith family lived in the United States, and when Annie was 10 years old, the message of the soon coming of Christ reached their house, and she and the mother, they tend to become Millerites. They were called Millerites because William Miller was the one who had started the message of the soon coming of Christ. So she and the family, they believed the message and expected the soon coming of Christ. So for a few years, I think about 2 or 3 years, they also preached the message that Christ is coming soon. But come October 22, 1844, a great disappointment occurred. Christ did not come as they had expected. So really, because of the devastation which occurred, the children, the Smith children, lost faith. So they then continued to pursue their education, but fortunately, the mother, Rebecca Smith, she didn't lose faith. She continued to search for exactly what had happened. But Annie was the oldest of the Smith children. So then she continued with her education, and she had very high prospects, and she became a teacher and eventually becoming pretty much a junior lecturer. But as that occurred, on one fateful day, all of a sudden, her sight became blurred, and she had challenges with her eyes. But unfortunately, that didn't deter her from pursuing her education. So she continued with her education, but of course, with the devastation which she had faced, she then basically left issues to do with faith. But the mother continued to pray for her, and also the brothers. Of course, on a side note, Uriah also faced some challenges, and then he had to be amputated, his leg, and of course the challenges as they came across, Annie pretty much lost faith. But just because the mother did not lose faith, on one fateful day, or in a certain period, Joseph Bates was doing some meetings in their household. So as he was doing the rounds in their household, Mrs. Smith said, "Can you please pray for my daughter? She has lost faith, but I'm hoping that the Lord might have mercy upon him, that she would come back to the fold." And they prayed, and then when Joseph inquired where exactly she is staying, she was told that she was staying in a certain state, but Joseph then said, "No, I actually have some house meetings in that place. Please write a letter to her and inform her that she ought to attend the meetings on this particular date." And then the mother wrote a letter to Annie, and the letter was sent. And when Annie received the letter, she then said, "Of course, I have nothing to do with faith, but just because I don't want to disappoint my mother, I'll plan to attend." And then fast forward a few months down the line, the date came for the meetings to occur. And just before the tent meeting started, Annie had a dream. And in that dream, she arrived late for a meeting. And when she arrived late for a meeting, she sat at the very last chair at the back of the church, on the chair which was the only one available. And when she sat on that particular chair, she saw a gentleman, a tall, slim gentleman in front doing a presentation. She had a chart showing the dates, and the gentleman was saying, unto 2,300 days, and the sanctuary shall be cleansed. But when she woke up, she said, all right, yes, she really did not make much fuss about it. Then came the evening, Annie left very early for the tent meeting, and so that peradventure, she would not fulfill the dream which she had. But on her way, she lost the directions and went round and round. Eventually, she found the place where the tent meeting was being conducted, and she arrived late for the meeting. And behold, when she opened the door to get into the house, there was only one chair remaining, the chair which was at the back, and she then sat on that particular chair. And when she sat, the gentleman up front started to preach upon the sanctuary and upon a chart which he had. Of course, she was puzzled, she was intrigued, she was interested. But then, after the meeting, Joseph Bates then said, I need to have a talk with this young lady. Joseph Bates approached Annie and said, you are Annie Smith, daughter of Rebecca Smith. It's quite interesting that you came. Why? Because I had a dream that you actually came and sat on that particular chair. And the interesting thing is, Annie also told her, no, I actually had the same dream. And Joseph said, I actually had to change my sermon the moment I saw you coming. Why? Because when I had the dream, it was telling me I'm supposed to teach about the sanctuary. Of course, but already I had planned to do something else. But the moment I saw you get in, I then had to change to preach about the sanctuary. Why? Because the dream said I will teach about the sanctuary. Then because of that event, Annie was very much interested, and they had Bible studies with Joseph. And eventually, she gave her life to Christ, and she became a member of this newly formed church. This is around about 1849. Afterwards, she then was called to by James and Ellen, to come to their newly opened publishing house. It was the early days of the book review. So they then called here. But of course, it was a challenge. They had Annie and the mother had to pray. Why? Because it was basically giving up a career to come to this newly formed church. And her career really was already paying very well. But after much prayer and consideration, she then accepted the call to come and become one of the assistant editors to the review. So she left. Arriving around about 1850, then moved forward as the review and Herald was being published. But because Annie had a problem with the eyesight, the very day that they got to the house, James called for a dedicatory prayer and an anointing service for Annie, such that she be healed of the eyesight problem which she had faced. And they then knelt down, anointed her with some oil, and they prayed. And as they were praying, instantaneously, Annie was healed of her eyesight problems. And after she was healed, instead of it becoming an anointing service, it became a praise and worship service to thank God of the miracle which they had all just witnessed. So a year passed, and the work was demanding because really some of the material which was being published was really going out to a number of people. And many publications were being churned out from the review. A year passed, and James' brother called Nathaniel and the sister Anna, they then came to live with the whites because they had contracted tuberculosis. So, and that period, tuberculosis was one of the most dreaded conditions known. Why? Because it was a 60% chance that after contracting tuberculosis, you were going to die. So it was really a challenge. And remember that tuberculosis is passed airborne, is transmitted airborne. So they stayed with them. But unfortunately, Nathaniel did not make it. And he died a few months later, and Anna survived for almost a year, but the condition then deteriorated, and then she died. And the moment the news came to Annie's ears that Anna just died, she penned a what? She penned a poem, and this is the poem, which is hymn number 5. But the story does not end there. Unfortunately, because of the living conditions which they were in, Annie also contracted tuberculosis. And they tried nursing the condition. They tried all manner of treatments which they could, but the condition continued to deteriorate such that eventually she had to be sent back home. Why? Because the situation was not looking very well. And when she got home, she only stayed for a few weeks. And unfortunately, Annie also died. And the hymn, the poem, which was written for Anna a few months before, by the time Annie died, someone had put it into song. And this is hymn number 5, which we're singing. With this background, let us sing hymn number 5 once again, because it was sung first at her funeral. Why? Because one of the pioneers, they just died. And I didn't mention this. By the time Annie died, she was just 27 years old. So she was really young, and she was hoping that she has a future up ahead. But unfortunately, yet time had lapsed. Hymn number 5.